to another Genshin Impact story. We we spent like a long time like doing the whole like story, so that's why I'm like really late. But welcome in, welcome in. Um, we're just gonna do a quick sort of story recap stream. Welcome in, Cereza. Thanks for the lurk. Really appreciate it. While I do my do my artifact runs. So yeah, I'm just gonna put it up here so people can kind of see it. There we go. Perfect. XDD. Hey, welcome in, Brushy. How you doing? We're gonna do our event recap here. How you doing, Brushy? This was a 5-hour event, and it was mostly just Ahao and Kakuku like spouting complete nonsense throughout. I'm very confused at this event. They will stand up and do 5 jumping jacks. What is this? No, this is real. This is all real. I'm just replaying the Japanese recording. But my camera and the chat is real. What is this? I should probably make a jumping jacks redeem at some point when I get like channel points. Also, I just ate dinner. It's not good to do jumping jacks right after you eat. I'll like puke everything out. What I will say though, it's nice to see like the whole crew come back. What you make? We had ramen tonight. Good old ramen. Mm. But do you get that feel too? Like the event was, I feel like it was kind of frivolous. Maybe that was the point, but like I definitely like the Escoffier story quest a lot better. Is it me or did the colors look different on stream? It's different because this is the replay. So when I record it, I think it records with a different like color codec. A slightly different color codec than if it were streamed. So that's why it looks like that. It looks a bit richer. That's good. That's good then. That means the recording is slightly better than the stream, which makes sense. The recording is also recorded, I think, in a higher quality, slightly higher quality in general. But that was a very long event, buddy. Like holy, like it had like a whole. The actual like event story was only like 2 hours, but I spent like 2.5 hours. I spent like 50% of it was like one story, like the main story, and then 50% of it was like all the side stuff. Wait, how can you show us a higher quality recording yet play at low quality when streaming? Wait, what? It's 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 not at a higher quality. It's like technically the same quality if you're looking at it through stream. But the recording itself is a higher quality, if that makes sense. Um like it you can't tell from the stream. Because you can't actually see the quality through stream, but I can promise you that the file itself is much bigger than if you downloaded it off the stream, for example. uh, it's a lot more gigs in there, so that's just Twitch being lame with their bit rates, but um, and I guess even to an extent, YouTube compresses it a bit as well. So technically, like you'll never get like the full quality that I have it recorded. Also, yeah, it's a long quest. It's a crazy long quest. Spent like 5 hours doing it, and I was like, okay, I gotta eat dinner. I can't sleep right away because like, I gotta eat dinner. I'm like dying here, I'm, like hungry. So I went to grab cook dinner before to start. Should have been twice as long, not like this. A lot of it was very filler. It felt very filler. I think this is probably one of the most filler quests, like an event quest I've felt in a while. And event quests are usually pretty filler, I would say. To be fair, you know, event quests are generally pretty filler, but this one's kind of filler. I mean, duration time. Oh yeah, you mean it should last twice as long? Yeah, it should have lasted quite a bit longer than making us like rush through like all of this. I definitely feel like they I don't know why they've made their event like schedule like so short these days. Like I don't really see the point like why they're like doing that. Just give us not cry lore. Like where even is it? I think we'll know soon. We'll probably know pretty soon. They did mention not quite at like the edge of Tivat though, so I'm gonna assume it's somewhere in the top left corner of the map. But that seems like geographically the where it would make the most sense to put it. When did they say that? During the Not Cry live stream, did you watch the Not Cry live stream, Brushy? I think I was commenting on it during the not when it came out too, because we were watching the Not Cry live stream together on stream. You might not have watched the Not Cry live stream, so that's why I mentioned that. I don't remember. It's been a while. It's the one where it was like a special live stream. And it was all in Chinese, with subbed of course, but like it was all in Chinese. It was like one of their special, and then they talked about how like Genshin's story has a lot of loose ends, and they wanted to tie it all up with a whole Not Cry patch, basically the Not Cry patch live stream. how they like made a mistake of like assuming all the travelers were following the lore, but a lot of new players like don't even know what's going on. So they decided to basically delay Snezhnaya for a year. So basically the live stream that announced that whole shenanigan, they on that live stream they mentioned that Not Cry is sort of on the edge of Tibet. And it's like at a place far enough from all the nations so that it would make sense that it's like an unincorporated part of Tibet that is not part of a particular nation. So blaming players, classic Hoya. No, they blamed themselves during the live stream. They actually said like, oh, we made a mistake and realized that there are a lot of loose ends and plot points in the story that never got fully fleshed out, and they want to spend like a whole year developing those storylines. So I don't think they were blaming for. They were more like reflecting on how like they didn't quite take players' play experience into consideration when it comes to like the lore, because to them like they have all the lore, so they understand how everything connects together, and so when they drop hints, like they're like, oh, they get it. but they don't realize that the players don't get it because there are no connections being made. There are like some hints throughout like the story and the text and the artifacts. But there's a difference between like having the lore there versus connecting the dots, right? And for them, like it, like they basically came to a realization that not everyone was, well, not even not everyone, like the players like weren't able to connect the dots in general, even though like from their perspective they thought like they were doing a good job, but like putting all these like little lore hints. But because like no one could connect the dots, they were like they realized that, oh, people are just missing like huge plot points of the story if they don't kind of slow down and walk people through, which I think makes a lot of sense. I know they're not that dumb. I'm pretty sure they were always gonna do that from the start. You mean they were always gonna to delay Snezhnaya from the start? I don't think so. I think Snezhnaya, like at least on the stream, they did say specifically that this was a decision they made in the middle. Because they also talked about it in the context of like not just how do I put this? Like it wasn't just like the whole we're gonna delay Snezhnaya thing, but they also talked a lot about questioning like traditional methods of storytelling and tradition, like about always challenging the status quo of Genshin. They talked a lot about that part of the creative process where they're like, they were like, do we all always have to have story quests and hangout events? Even though in the end, and they were like, well, no, as long as people get the content and they enjoy it, like that's all that really matters, right? It doesn't have to like fit a traditional like framework of what, like just because they've done it in the past doesn't mean they have to keep doing it this way. And I think like a large part of the live stream, like they touched on that theme a lot, like the idea of like, let's not do something just because we've always done it this way, but let's actually think about whether it makes sense for it to be done this way, which I think is great. How can they mess up a schedule by a whole year? Did they not realize they weren't giving enough lore? It's not that they weren't giving enough lore. I think I think they even say at this point, it's like they have too much lore, but they failed to make the connections between them. I think that's the main idea. Like the problem is not that they didn't give us like lore hints. The problem is that they didn't connect the dots for us. And that's like an important part of storytelling. Like in storytelling, you do have to connect the dots. Like you can't just like vomit like a whole bunch of like things and expect players to like, oh, this makes sense, And the less players like can understand like your story, the less they will be interested in it. And I think and I think like a lot of people who are like, just skipping the dialogue and all that, like it really comes from a sense of like, I can't follow the story anyways. Like, what's the point? Which I can totally understand like that perspective. Like there are a lot of players who like literally just skip dialogue because whether it's time or anything else, but like I think one of the reasons for that is because of the fact that like it's so hard to follow the story. I don't think everything has to be spelled out for it. They just need to leave enough of a connection, in my opinion. Yeah, they don't have to spell it out, but they do have to connect like their huge ideas together. There are a lot of very like interesting lore points, like from Enconomia and like from Chasm and all the different places. But the problem is that they're not connected. You see, they're all their own like, oh, how is this Descender thing and Faney's and like the primordial one, right? You have all these like little hints, but they're not connected. They have never established this connection. Then if they fail to give us the connection, then it means there wasn't enough lore as a clue. I mean, if you consider lore as just like information, then sure. But I think like the key part that they were talking about in the live stream was essentially the connections. Like how does this link to this? How does this relate to this? How does the Descender, like what did they do like in this time period, in this history that would sort of like like connect the stories together, because none of these, like if you think about it, like none of the, you know, the the Crimson Moon Dynasty or Kanria or Rhine Daughter, none of these actually like existed separate from each other, right? We still don't know the connection between Primordial Weapon and Second Kim exactly. Um, but at least those two are still like within their context. But if you think about like all of the lore regarding Kanria, Foul, Sertologi, Skirk, they're all connected. These are all connected things. Like these are all like stories that where and some of these people have probably interacted with each other before, right? And we have no idea about those connections. That's the key issue. Like we have no clue what, you know, the Fatui are doing stuff. You know, Senor is doing stuff with the Gnosis. You know, there's just so many like plot lines out there, and there's no cohesive. Essentially, there's no cohesive story. Right? Not yet. I mean, there is a cohesive story, but it's not revealed to us yet. Like the connections to create the story are not even like available quite yet. To be fair, most of the synonyms got no screen time other than mentions. I guess. But there's still like, no, there's still a lot of lore surrounding them. Like Sertologi and Skirk, maybe it's just like a name drop, but like it's more than just like, you know, what did it's like, what did they do, what is this legacy, what is their power, what did they actually sin, and how did they actually relate to the other sinners, right? Because we not only did we get the file, we got right, like we know Rhine Daughter as well, and Rhine Daughter has their own like, you know, has their own story that only ever gets mentioned when Olvido, you know, comes up, but never in the context of like, you know, when Dainsleep mentions them all together, they're like, hey, wait a second, they're like 5 sinners and they're all connected and they all did something, and maybe they did something together. Like maybe there was this like, there was this grand sin that they committed together at some point, or even if they didn't, like maybe each of them had their own mission or something. But there's a connection between all of them that we don't even know yet. Like not even a clue. We know like roughly like what some of them were doing, but like it's highly likely that there's something they did together. Right? We just don't know that. And the first time we saw power outside of Tibat was Arlecchino and that one book, the Crimson, like Arlecchino's like Crimson Moon power, yeah. I don't know if the big nuke from the Primordial Dragons counts as like outside of Tevat. I'm not sure about that one. Herin Harry. Herin Harry is related to Arlecchino though, right? Isn't Perrin Harry like the one that talks about Arlecchino's power? Yeah. It talks about the Crimson Moon, and well, Perrin Harry specifically is uh it's actually a person in this book, actually. One of the knights in the kingdom, according to this book. Yeah, but there's definitely a lot more than just, I mean, abyssal power is also not up to that. Right. So I think that's like a second. And then we have the whole we have the whole the sky is a lie thing that also hasn't been connected. um Light realm and abyss realm, yeah. I don't know if the Crimson Moon is the light realm. I'm not sure about that. It might be a bit more complicated than that. I really hope I was really wishing that Skirt would come in with like an abyssal power, but the fact that she's cryo is kind of sus. But it does sound like she's cryo not because of a vision. So maybe that's like special in the sense that like she gets her cryo powers from like, you know, outside of Tivat or something. Which would make sense, I guess. It would just be nice if it wasn't just like cryo. And then we have real older space which was closed off by the heavenly principles. Supposedly to protect Tivat, right? That's the point of the heavenly principles. Feel a little bit of Expedition 33 vibes. Like we're all trying to challenge or break through the heavenly principles, but maybe what's out there is even more dangerous. Yeah, to protect humans, they brought us to Tevat. And I think it might have been the sinners, I think, who like brought the descenders to Tevat as well, if I'm not wrong. Um who brought the traveler's siblings, twins to Tevat as like the stars. Um so that still kind of begs the question though, like where did we actually come from? Like where did the travelers come from? Um and what was like outside of what else is there really outside in this abyssal ocean? Rather a certain group of Kanrians, yeah, not all. I guess not all of them are like technically sinners. There's that whole like Kanrian, I want to say like Kanrian cataclysm like storyline. There's still like the Archon War storyline. Like Liu had a lot of like great stuff with like the old Yakshas, Madam Ping, Goizhong. I feel like Liu probably has the most like coherent story. Like you just consider all the Liyue's old lore, they all connect pretty well actually, from that perspective. But nothing on the like Tevat scale. The Tevat lore is kind of a mess still. Still kind of a lot of disconnected thoughts. But that's kind of why they decided to like, hey, let's delay this Naya a year and help. I wouldn't say like they're gonna like baby us and like connect all the dots for us. I don't think that's their intention. I think their intention is more like just building up and developing them a little bit more so that the lines are a lot clearer to everybody. They got too ambitious. Yeah, I honestly don't know how complex the story is behind the scenes. I don't know if it's gonna be the case where like there's so much lore that it's just a complicated mess and it's impossible to understand. Or it's more like they realized they weren't dropping enough hints or they weren't like they weren't dropping it in the right places that would, you know, allow players to see the connections a lot more clearly. Plus, there was more lore created after. There was a lot more lore created after the game was launched. I wonder what was added. There were. I don't think there was that much like main lore added. Just from my point of view, because like if there was like more lore, I would say like it's only in the sense of like things getting fleshed out a bit more, rather than like the overarching like, you know, what is the Night Kingdom, what is Soul, how do ley lines work kind of thing. I think most of that was pretty much fixed in stone. Um, from what I feel, it's probably more correct to say that the the main ideas were there, they just weren't fleshed out enough in terms of like the drama of the story or the characters that were in it were not fleshed out too much. Um, well, they established the problem, but they were too ambitious and had a lot of lore and didn't make the connections. Yeah, but I don't think the problem was that they had too much lore. The problem was that they didn't tell the story well. They didn't tell the story um well. They told certain stories well. They told the story of like Sumeru and Liyue and Inazuma and Fontaine and Natlan pretty much well. Can we blame too much Yap CAC W? Yeah, I think blaming too much Yap is a real thing too, because a lot of first of all, a lot of players like started skipping dialogue a bunch, and that's because starting in Sumeru and Fontaine, they were really going overboard with these like huge dialogue lore dumps. Which okay, sure, if you're like a lore enthusiast, you're gonna eat up a lot, right? And I was wow, this is cool, this is good lore kind of thing, right? You get excited over it. But for the most like casual fan base, like they're just like skip, skip, skip. Like what is this? Like what does this even mean? What does it even matter, right? It has nothing to do with like my favorite character or like anything that's happening now. These are all like old stuff in the past, like who cares kind of thing. Um and also because it's all like in huge chunks of text, it's like that's not good storytelling, right? Like you don't go into a movie and then it's just like two people talking to each other or sitting talking to each other and just like telling you what happened in the past. That's like a history lesson basically. It's always the lowest common denominator. Shake my head, always ruining everything, Kappa. I think it's fair. Like it's a fair criticism to say that like like a good movie is not a movie where there's two people sitting and all they do is recount what happened. Right? Like that's not a good movie. That's not like entertaining and that's not like remotely interesting or worth your time. Like you could have the best story. Like imagine Lord of the Rings, right? But imagine like instead of like the huge 3 hour like spectacle. Well, actually technically 9 hours if you count all three movies. Instead of the 9 hour spectacle that is Lord of the Rings, imagine Lord of the Rings was literally just Frodo, not Bilbo, and maybe Bilbo Baggins and like Frodo, like when they're old, and they're just talking to their friend and telling them all about their adventures. The whole movie was just two people that like sitting across the couch and just recounting what happened. No flashbacks, nothing. Just talking about it. And maybe there's some like text. Actually, there's a lot of text in the movie. It's just like scrolling through pages and pages of Bilbo Baggins' diaries and like some notes that Gandalf wrote. Basically, that's basically what's going on, right? Like with the walls of text. In a weird way, that's kind of what the book was. Yeah, exactly. You're not watching a movie. You're just reading a book. And like, if I wanted to read a book, I would go ahead and read books. But I'm not playing Genshin to scroll through like, you know, I guess there are people who love to do this, like go into the archive and like scroll through like all the books in there. But I would say like 99% of players are not going to do that, and I'm only going to like venture in there if like someone tells me there's something nice, like interesting to read in this book. A lot of the books that they have are also like weirdly figurative, and like you kind of need to like connect the dots even within the book, right? Like it's always told in the perspective of like another person or with like very vague details. There's no like clear start and end to a lot of the records. It's just like excerpts of what happened or excerpts of a story, and then you're supposed to somehow try and piece together. It was really really hard, especially in Fontaine. The Fontaine World Quest was like, oh my goodness, like you had to grab you had to remember like the part from this to connect to the doggo from here so that you know that the doggo was actually this person's pet. But it was actually like they were all like in an orphanage at some point, and like it's like it just got like really hard to keep track. Like you basically like either had to watch a video or you had to like keep like very meticulous notes on everything that you had. Um, Towards the end, it even goes how Sam was handed the Red Book. He wrote his own story in the future generation. I recall correct. Yeah. I mean, in the end of it, like that's how we know what happened. right, through books and stuff, but like if it's a movie, like like you wouldn't be entertained by reading a book. Too many ants confuse me, so I wish I could redo it. Yeah, there's so many ants. Like, what is going on? There's like the Mary Ann and the actual Ann and the I like I'm just like, what is going on, guys? It's like, is there a bad guy in this? And like, is there a bad guy? Like, what happened to the guy that we met at the start? Like, the Jacob guy. You know, like, which one of these is the bad guy? That's all I wanted to know. At the end of the day. I mean, it did come to like a pretty nice conclusion where like all three of them like they do show up at the end. So they did like sort of connect it at the end, which is not too bad. Like all of the different threads. But while you were doing it, it felt like, oh my goodness, I do not understand anything. Uh, um, it was a pretty good world quest though overall. Like I really like the what I think like probably would have served it better is that instead of like having all these pieces of lore in random bits of dialogue that people talk about, like have like either have flashbacks or have us like play through like the past even or like what happened. Just some way that shows what happened rather than requires us to read about what happened. Because it's one thing to read about something and then okay, so this happened versus experiencing it, right? And I think the point of playing a game slash watching a movie is to experience the story. And I think there's always some dialogue that will need to happen. There's always some reading that will need to happen. And Genshin has a very bad habit of putting a lot of lore in like these tablets or stones or investigate spots, and then like you investigate this tablet, and then it's just like 12 dragons debating about some issue, and you're expected to remember all of the dragons' names and stuff. Like come on, like don't give us like huge walls of text. Just show us a scene of those dragons debating, and it would like people will remember that so much better. And people will understand like what actually happened to the dragon so much better than just like if you had to read a huge chunk of text. Also weird how the hand looks like Syndrome. They do reuse their assets quite a bit, so I probably wouldn't read too much into that. Um, it could just be a case of like we needed some asset at this time for this person, so we just have to use this one. But at they're totally allowed to redesign a character that hasn't been released yet, right? So nah, they wouldn't make a Harbinger look like an NPC. Honestly, like they showed the Fatui Harbinger's designs like crazy early. I was pretty surprised how early they showed it. Because like to me I would have felt like they probably wanted to tweak the designs of some of them, in a couple of years. And it like they did Winter Night's Lazlo like what 3 years ago, 2 years ago, way back to before Sumeru, like right before Sumeru started, right? It's been like two coming to 3 years now, and now that Snisnaya is being pushed out, it's also highly like likely that we're not gonna get like all the Harbingers, like and until like maybe another year. So I don't know if they like shot themselves in the foot in the sense of like now I can't change the design, but I'm pretty sure like they still have the liberty to change at least tweak the Patui designs, like the Harbinger designs a little bit before release. I think they still have like some flexibility with that. They're not like stuck to like what I think Arlecchino probably was like most developed already, and that's fine because Arlecchino needed to come out in Fontaine. But the rest of them that only appear in Snisnaya, I'm pretty sure like they do have some flexibility to change their designs, or at least tweak it a little bit. We will get at least one in Outcry if most are playable. I also think so. I think we'll definitely get one. We'll definitely get at least Dottore, even if Dottore might not be playable though. I will say he might not be playable. But I think we'll definitely get Dottore appearance at least. Um, but besides Dottore, I'm not sure who else. Probably Arlecchino because we already met her, but she doesn't count because we already met her. Um, yeah, the only one that I'm pretty sure I'm for certain is Dottore because he's mentioned in the story. The gremlin looking dude probably not playable. People need waifus, not an old balding gremlin. Wait till he comes out as a 5-star short male unit, the first short male unit. Just wait for that to happen. It would actually be wild. I would actually be super interested in like an old, small male character, like a short male character, but it's like an old man. I would actually be really interested in that kind of character, like a goblin, an old gremlin character. That would actually be really cool. So, I wouldn't hold it against them. I wouldn't say it's impossible. So. And we also don't know if he'll stay an old balding gremlin. They could change the design. He could take some life potion and suddenly become younger or something. I don't know. Harbingers are wild. They could literally like do anything. So actually, we still don't know why it's a race of long living Kure and Pulcinella too. Kure, I guess she's like half elf or something. I don't think they've ever like really addressed the elf issue of like why people live pretty long. I don't remember why Citlali lives very long. Nahida too, but she's a goddess, so I don't know. Nahida was just born though, right, Brochi? Like she hasn't been around for very long, has she? Wasn't she only just born in the last like couple of years? Or has it been 100 years already? 500 years? I guess to it. I guess for Nahida that's pretty much yesterday. Oh yeah, she was born like right after Cataclysm, so that's right. Yeah, right after Cataclysm. So that's been 500 years. Makes me wonder, was she in prison for that long? I guess she was. I don't think she was like in prison the moment after she was born though. It might have been like a couple of years. It was worse than Purina's fate. Okay, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Like it's she only had to lie. Hold up. Purina had to perform, alright? Purina was not lying. She was performing. And it's not there's a difference, there's a difference. There's a difference. When you see your favorite actor in a movie, you don't say that they're lying. They're not lying, they're acting. That's the point. Like they're performing. Lying is a performance. Okay, that one I cannot disagree. Lying is a performance. But performance is not necessarily lying, so it's a bit different. uh, and I think the key difference here is that Nahida is an archon, like basically a god, right? Um, so when it comes to like doing stuff in general, like sure you can still feel for them like from a human perspective, and they're still like it's still like pretty torturous and stuff. But the big difference between Furina and Nahida, the Furina is entirely human. Furina is not an Archon. She has no Archon powers, right? So I would still argue that Furina had it worse. Furina is not human. Well, maybe she's not quite human, but she's definitely not Archon. She's not a god. But I think she's kind of she's I think she was I think Porcelor said specifically like she was like she was made to be human, at least, even if she's not like maybe technically human. I think post law like intended for her to like basically like live a human life and like be a human essentially. So I think for from it from for that intent and purpose, I think we can call her a human at that point. uh, but I think that that distinction is what makes me like Purina slightly better. In terms of I know Nahida is like a cabbage kid, so it does make her seem a bit make it seem a bit more sad because you can't do this to a little kid. But she's also like not a little kid technically. Oceanids aren't human. Didn't New Villette like basically make them all human though, like for real? And that would also like include Farina, right? So I'm not sure about how Farina was constructed. Like maybe she was like special material. But I think at least after New Villette did the whole thing, like everybody basically became human. But for 500 years she wasn't human. That's beside the they were close enough. They were close enough. Close enough. They were like Fontaine humans. Like they were like if anything it would have been harder, right? They were only like half like barely human, like you know, fake humans. It might even be harder for them because they're not they don't even have like the full human status yet. It's a matter of that technicality that doesn't matter. I think we can still say like emotionally they're like human. I would still say like, you know, like Nahida from like as an Archon standpoint, like just beyond like the physical power and all that, like even emotionally, like she should have like she wouldn't be like confined to like human emotions and things like that. Like she would be able to transcend some of that in a way. And in the way like she talks and like talks to people, like you can also tell like she has like wisdom far beyond any human typically would. Um Farina though is just kind of pretty much a pretty much a, all she does is perform. Emotionally, Nahida does think like a human. Doesn't yeah, she definitely does not think like a human. Like I would argue like she has probably a stronger willpower than you know the average human person. Whereas like Farina, like Farina basically has the emotional capacity of a pretty normal human. Maybe even less because like she's like she like she I don't know what it feels like, but like when like even after like a story quest and you talk to her, like she's it's still like she still talks like she's basically a kid. I don't know if it's the same in English, like if you get that feeling, but like at least in the Japanese, like she talks as if she's like a teenager basically all the time. And like her level of maturity is also somewhere around there. She just talks with a bit more like grace and like uh a bit more complexity because of her knowledge of like uh theater and like plays and different things like that. But for the most part, when she like interacts with people, she is a little like less mature than like most like the average adult human. But we've seen Nahida develop and you understand humans better. Why don't we hold Furina to the same standard? I think Furina is actually just a kid though. Although technically, like because she can live for a really long time. Actually, I'm not entirely sure whether she lost her like immortality powers after the whole thing. Um, but Furina was never able to like you know interact with society either. So, but I get your point. Like Nahida, like over time, like after well, Nahida has had a bit more time. I guess she's had like 2 years. Furina's only had like 1 year of like coming back into society. Um, but I do think like I do think that like when it comes to like understanding humans, like I wouldn't say like Furina doesn't have a good understanding of humans. I would just think like she's just slightly less mature in terms of like how she thinks and like what she does. I actually think like in order for her to like even pull off like that performance, like she has to have a pretty good understanding of humans, how they would act and like no, she has the capacity to grow mentally. Like two patches after she became human, so acting she was getting used to her new life, and even if then we saw her in a much better state of mind. Uh, she has the capacity to go mentally not depressed, essentially. Yeah, essentially, yeah, exactly that. But I'm not saying that she's like not like she doesn't understand like humans or anything. I actually think like through her acting, like in the last 500 years, she actually probably has developed a very very strong understanding of humans. um, but yeah, like you said, like she only recently recovered, so there's a few like emotional things going on. But just in the way that she carries herself, right? Like she doesn't act like an adult. Like if that makes sense, right? She doesn't act like she has. I don't know if it's true in the English, but at least in the Japanese, um, she still speaks as if she's like a kid, basically. um, which is fine. Which is entirely fine. Like she obviously has every right to do that. She was pretty mature in this event, though. I definitely think it's probably a difference in the English and the Japanese. But because I'm pretty sure like the Purina's English voice is, was she voiced in the English one, by the way? Just making sure. I'm pretty sure like Purina's English voice does sound a bit more mature um than the Japanese. So so if you're saying that she does sound a bit more mature, then then I would agree. Then that's fine. From the Japanese, she sounds like a tomboy. Yeah, exactly. She sounds like a big tomboy because in the Japanese she keeps referring to herself as a boku, and boku is only used like in the Japanese. Boku is only used by young boys, like young boys, like not even like even teenage boys like don't even use boku. Like you know what I mean? Like boku is used for like when you're like maybe up to the age of 8 or 9. I don't mean her voice. I was talking about acting like a mature adult. It's a bit hard to separate the use of boku and like acting like a mature adult because if you were a mature adult, you would not use the word boku. You would not refer to yourself as a boku. Like just in Japanese culture in general. That's just how it means. But in terms of like what she's talking about, then I guess it's kind of mature. I I don't know yet though. Maybe she's getting more mature over time, but my general impression of Marina that hasn't she probably won't get to the same level of maturity anytime soon, essentially. The I think one of the big quests where I did see that is the like the in Chlorine's story quest, she acted like a like she was pretty much a kid in that quest, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with like being a kid and like having fun, but like you can tell like from the way like she responds to things and how everybody else is able to pick up on all these nuances, but she didn't. Like the story was almost kind of like dissing Purina a bit. Like the story literally treated her like a kid in that story. Like Nabia and Corin were like the adults and they like understood what was going on and they could pick up on these hints. And Purina was just like didn't understand what's going on. She thought everything was like an act, a play or something. You know? So that happened in Corin and honestly she didn't have a lot of lines in this event to really say much. Like she was just talking about um doing surveys of people and talking about plays like she usually does, which is her forte. Like the topic that she will sound the most mature and adultish is whenever she's talking about performances or plays or films. So that one I'm not like too concerned about. If I'm gonna put an age on her, then she's more like a responsible 23-year-old or something. I think that's fair. 23-year-old is fine. Probably because she never played D&D before KEKW. I mean, yeah, but like, if she were a mature adult, she would still have like the social, like I don't want like capacity to pick up on hints, right? Like she would know when something is up and she would know how to be suspicious of people. I think that's the main thing. Like she would know how to be suspicious of people. Um and I think that's like the big change when you like going from the innocence of a kid to like an adult. Like the main difference is like oh the world is kind of like the realization of like people have like different motives and being able to pick up on those kind of small details. It's like the big difference between like a kid and an adult. And I think the story still portrays Farina a lot like a innocent, like a young innocent. I was gonna say girl, but they really portray her as a young innocent boy. If there's anything else, they really do not portray her as a girl. She really is portrayed as a young innocent boy. I see you get flashbang. Wait, what do you mean by flashbang? Oh, the loading screen. Yeah, I'm like moving. I'm like moving the teleporting random places. But you know who the most childish people are? I don't know what Auroron and Aoife are doing in this story quest. In like this event quest. Like I literally do not know what's happening. They're just cracking like very lame jokes and like calling each other bro and like I have no idea what's going on. Like this was a very cringe story quest. I would bet it was even more cringe in the English with all the bros coming out. I'm still trying to understand Auron's character. Exactly the same. I'm so confused. I'm like, is he supposed to be smart and mature, or is he supposed to not know anything? Like, he's always like at both ends of the spectrum. I don't understand. Like, how can he like know what this is, but like when doing this, he's like, oh, I'm just acting, or like I'm acting a scene in a movie now. I'm like, wait, what's going on? It was so good in English. Oh, really? It sounds very wild in the Japanese. Like, it kind of makes no sense. Like he just like just says things in like this straight accent with like no emotion or whatever, and it's like supposed to be joking, and I'm like, now I will say like I've actually like listened to like an interview of like Nathan Noakes, who's like the English voice actor of Auroron, and he does a really good job voicing Auroron. So that's a big plus for the Ian. Bro started knocking new started saying special forces or whatever, kick W. And then he said, "Oh, I guess that's how people what was it? That's I thought that was just how people, you know, ask for entry at a door when there's something important." And I'm like, "Yeah, bro. I don't know how old you are, but you're definitely not 18." And then you try to redo it, but we stop. Yeah, yeah. You try to redo it, and let me go back. And then like Lumina's like, "Whoa, stop! It's okay. It's okay. We got this. You good?" To be fair, it was pretty funny. Like the whole Aurora and Aoife, and then Aoife just casually saying that he's 5. That's a total throwback to like the I'm 5 Discord meme. Oh my gosh. I'm convinced he's a jokester. Not dumb. If Nathan is voicing him in English, then I can definitely see that for sure. Because he definitely can definitely pull off like the jokes with a straight face kind of thing. So especially this part, like Kyodai, they start and then Ifa starts copying him, and then he starts like poking fun. So I know I and how old is Aoife supposed to be? Aoife's pretty old, right? Like he's not like a kid, right? But he's like talking with Auron like as if they're like these naughty kids at the playground, basically. I don't know what I mean by that. By that's a throwback to Gallagher HSR. His model is very similar. Both got deep scars. Gallagher said he was 13. You know? That's funny. There's basically like a Discord meme where like if on Discord at any point on Discord if you say if you say the line "I'm 5" in Discord, like I'm and then like a number 5 or like you spell out 5, Discord will immediately ban you from Discord until you send them an age verification showing that you're older than 5 because you have to be like above a certain age to use Discord or something. So there's a big Discord meme where like if you I should try that. Don't try that. You actually get locked out of your Discord account. Like you actually like lose access to your Discord account, and if you don't like submit your age verification in time, they'll warn you and say like your account will be deleted in 2 weeks unless you submit a photo with like your ID to like, and the process is like you have to submit this form in like their help center ticket, and it takes like a couple of days for them to get back to you basically because it's all manual and stuff. But basically, they have an automated system like in Discord that is like constantly tracking like all of your posts, and if you ever just say I'm 5, like you're just instantly banned. Like like automatically just locks you out. It's just crazy. He wants to have my idea. I can goof around as much as possible. I'm not entirely sure about that, and I don't want to try it because 100% they have an automated like system that basically like instant bans you, and nobody's actually taking a look at your case. So I wouldn't risk it, but suffice to say, I've gotten banned before for saying something like that, and I lost my Discord account for like it was like 2 days or something, and before I finally got it back. But it was wild. It was really wild because like I was supposed to like hop on like a Discord call with some friends to play some games, and like that game night I was like, sorry guys, I got banned from Discord, and I was like, how do you get banned? I said I was 5, and I'm like, and they're all like face following, and I'm like, I didn't know this. I didn't know this was a thing. You know the funniest part? The funniest part was that this happened in like this. I think this happened like sometime last year. I think in 2024. And the funniest part was that like my Discord account was created in like 2016. So like the account was older, like was like at least 7 years old when that happened. So that's the stupidest part. So basically, I had to have created my account 2 years before I was born for me to have been 5. Anyway, it's wild. Okay, it's actually wild. It's 100% automated, and so it's kind of anyway. Oh my gosh, did I just got zapped? I got zapped. A thunder just came and struck my Candace while I was like over here. Even on Twitch, I've heard people getting banned for saying that. Yeah, I'll just be like on any sort of like social media platform, just like don't say that kind of thing anymore. Basically, it's kind of wild. It's because of all it's like the U.S. like age verification law, I guess. Like even the Genshin had to put in the age verification thing. Twitch, I'm 84 years old. It's so dumb. It's actually so dumb. But few things. So we have an exciting development actually. So I'm gonna close the replay, but our exciting development is that we do now have our event bow right here. We do now have our event bow, which I'm not currently using on any character because I don't have an HP bow character. So our event bow, which is here. I don't know who's actually gonna use this bow. You see the event bow shenanigans? What do you mean by shenanigans? I don't have any HP. I guess I could give it to Diona, but she like kind of likes Favonius better. I don't think I have any other like HP scaling. Goro doesn't scale HP, it scales defense. Posted in Lee Han's Genshin chat. Lee Han. Was it a while ago? His chat is pretty active. I just scroll up quite a bit. Nope, 2 messages ago. Oh wait, Genshin chat, not general chat. Where's this Genshin chat? Oh, this is with Yelan though. Are you like eating a lot of food to get the HP buff? What is going on? Wait, what? How does Sigurd? Oh, wait. Because you stack HP and like it does damage based on the HP, so you just get this huge like physical hit. That's wild. That's wild. 80% of max HP. I gave her HP crit rate, and then you ate the HP food too, right? I'm guessing. Unless you were just eating the damage crit, so I needed the crit rate. Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah. So I thought sure the bow was gonna be useful for me, but we did get our battle pass weapon. So our Kaya is now decked out with a pretty nice weapon. Where's Kaya boy? 30% HP food even if it was split up Furina buffs. Nice. Just regular food? I see, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Just for Furina buffs. I know you can eat like the Furina food too for like higher HP. Furina's what is it? Furina's specialty cake? I forgot what it's called, like Fontaine du Mousse or something. Voila justice. That's not how it's said in French. But voila justice. Wow. I've no idea how to say this word. Let's see the Japanese. Pool. Oh, it's pool. Pula justice. Pula justice. I made a crab dish instead. Alright, that makes sense. The crab dish is also good. Stretch and hydrate. Alright, thanks, Teresa. I was technically hydrating as well. Alright, but we are probably gonna call it here, guys. It's been a minute. We did spend a long time in the event today, so it's probably time to take a rest. Thanks Teresa and Brushy for hanging out. We will be back again next week. Where we'll probably go back to like normal streams. I know this week was kind of weird because there was a lot to do. The event was like 5 hours long. My goodness. But we'll be back next week. The biz is not fun. The biz is not fun. But if any of you have an idea of how to make my Hyper Bloom team actually work with Auroron, I would be happy to hear. But so far it doesn't seem to be working out for me. Let's go ahead and raid out. Say hi to Loki. Thank you guys. Have a good night. See you guys next time. Bye bye.